Tatsam. Good morning, students. I am Subhalakshmi Barua, here to take a grammar class for you today for students of class 9. Before I start the topic of the day, I would like to do a quick recap with you about verbs. Okay? I think everyone knows what are verbs. Now let us do this. Okay? Let us do this. What am I doing? I'm shaking my hand, isn't it? Now let me do this. What am I doing? I am thinking, isn't it? Okay. Now, what am I doing? I'm moving from side to side, isn't it? So you can see that these are all different kinds of actions, isn't it? I'm doing actions. So the names for different actions, these are called verbs. In other words, what are verbs? What are verbs? Verbs are action words. Verbs are action words. Or you can say, for the purpose of understanding, they are names of actions. Now we all know that all actions may not be work. For example, if I'm shaking my hand, that is not work, but it is an action. I'm looking at you. That is an action, isn't it? So, but when I'm sweeping the floor, when I'm cooking, this is action and it's also work. So all kind of action words, these are called verbs. Now you know, I think, that verbs, there are different types of verbs, isn't it? There are main verbs, that means they have the meaning of their own, and there are auxiliary verbs. There are main verbs, and then there are auxiliary verbs. Then there are transitive verbs, and there are intransitive verbs. Isn't it? Then there are regular verbs, and there are irregular verbs. Then there are verbs of complete predication, there are verbs of incomplete predication. So I'm not going to write all this because I'm not going to teach you types of verbs today. But for the purpose of the topic of this lesson, I would like you to look very carefully and remember very carefully what are regular verbs and what are irregular verbs. I must tell you that you must excuse my handwriting because I'm not too good at writing on electronic boards. Nevertheless, for the purpose of understanding, you must look at this very carefully and try to recall what are regular verbs and what are irregular verbs. অকমান অসমীয়াত কৈ দিও তোমালোকে ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকল তোমালোকে জানা চাই what are verbs হৈছে action words আমি কিবা কৰা বুজোৱা শব্দকে কি বুলি কয় verbs বুলি কয় হয়নে নহয় কিবা কৰা বুজোৱা শব্দবিলাকক verb বুলি কয় বেলেগ ধৰণৰ verb আছে main verb আছে auxiliary verb আছে transitive verb আছে non-transitive verb আছে regular verb আছে irregular verb আছে যেনেকৈ তোমালোকে দেখিলা অলপ আগতে আজি যিটো grammar topic কৰিম নহয় তাৰ কাৰণে we need to be a little clear about regular and irregular verbs. I will now do a quick recap with you about regular and irregular verbs. তোমালোকে নিশ্চয় জানা already বহুতে জানা সৰু ক্লাছত পঢ়িছা but if you don't remember this will help you to recall it into your memory. So look at the screen. You see some verbs here. isn't it? You'll see some verbs. Now, there are 3 columns in this chart, and then you'll see that there's the base form, there's the simple past, and there's the past participle. Now look at these verbs that are written here. Look at the verbs that are here. Okay, look at the verbs that are here. You see, this is the base form of the verb. Base form is the root form or the basic form of a verb. Okay, the basic form of a verb is called the base form. Now look at this verb, play. Huh? Now, if I want to create the simple past tense of this verb, what am I going to do? I'm going to add a ed to it. I'm going to add an ed to it. So play plus ed becomes played. So then this is the simple past tense form. And if I want to create the simple past participle, then I have to again do the same thing. Base form plus ed equal to played. All right, then so when you add, okay, then look at the next one. Look at the next example. It is try. Okay, now here what I'm going to do for the simple past tense, if I add ed here, it will become tried. So we don't like that, do we? We don't like tried. So what we want? Tried. So therefore we are going to remove the y, and then we are going to add ied. So the simple past tense form of try is tried, and the past participle form of tried is also, you remove the y and then you get tried, tried. Okay, now look at the next one, the verb like. Okay, like to convert it into simple past, we just add a d. What will happen if we add ed? It will become like keyed. We don't like that, do we? No. So we are going to just add a d. All right, and then the past participle is also formed by simply adding a d. So look at all these verbs, the 3 types, the 3 examples that I have given here. You'll find that the simple past tense and the past participle of these verbs are formed by adding the letters ed or ied, ed or ied or d. Okay, so verbs whose simple past tense and past participle forms are formed or created by adding d, ed or ied to the base forms, ed, ied or ed, ied or d to the base forms, these are called regular verbs. Okay, so now you remember what are regular verbs. Regular verb ki, regular verb is a verb or base form. Base form is a basic form, simple present tense or আমি ব্যবহার করো হেতুৰ লগত যেতিয়া d, ed বা ied যুক্ত কৰি আমি তাৰ simple past tense বা past participle form to আমি গঠন কৰো, সেই verb বিলাকক regular verb বুলি কয়। আৰু তোমালোকে এটা হয়তো তোমালোকৰ মনত এটা প্ৰশ্ন আহিছে, play verb টো শেষ হৈছে y ৰে আৰু try try verb টো শেষ হৈছে y ৰে, কিন্তু ইফালে আমি ed দিছো played লগত আৰু played ৰ লগত, আৰু ইফালে y লগত আমি কি দিছো, y লগত আমি y টো গুচাই দিছো দি পেলাই ied দিছো. We have removed the y in the second example, and in the first example we have not removed the y. Why is that? So side of তোমালোকে দেখিবা verbs with consonant and y, যেতিয়া verb or আখৰ to last letter kita second last letter to consonant letter হয় আৰু last letter to y হয়, তেতিয়া আমি y to remove কৰো. When the last letter is y and the letter before y is a consonant letter, then we remove the y and we add ied. But in the case of play, that is not the case. A is not a consonant letter, so we have to add ed. And then look at the last example, which is like. In like, what have we done? The last letter is e. The last letter is e. So when the verb, the spelling ends with e, the letter e, then we don't add ed. We just add d. So these are examples of regular verbs. Okay, I think you have now, all of you recall what are regular verbs. Now let us look at irregular verbs. Let us look at irregular verbs, the different groups of irregular verbs. All right. So what are irregular verbs? Obviously, we can understand from the previous examples that words which are not regular verbs, they are verbs which are not regular verbs, they are irregular verbs. Okay. So then there are different classes, however, of irregular verbs. That means, unlike regular verbs, irregular verbs, the simple past tense and the past participle are not formed by adding d, ed or ied to the base form of the verbs. What is done here? You have a look at this chart. So what do you see? You see the base form here. Okay, you see the base form here, and you have the verb drink. Okay, now how are we going to form the simple past tense? Are we going to write drinked? No, we are not going to write drinked. What are we going to do? We are simply going to change the vowel letter, okay, of drink. Instead of I, we are going to put A. Okay, so then now this has become drank. So drank is the simple past tense of form of drink. And if I want to form the simple, past participle form ko ami ki koribo lagibo, we have to change the vowel letter once again to u. Jeta u le ami change koridu drunk. So it becomes past participle. Again, more examples are there. Sing, sang, sung, ring, rang, rung. So you see here that the past tense is formed by changing the vowel letter to A, and the past participle is formed by changing the vowel letter to U, isn't it? Similarly for ring, rang, and rung. So what do you note here? Actually, if you were sitting in front of me, I would have asked you to answer this question yourself, but since we are not in a physical classroom, we are in a digital classroom. So let me tell you the answer. I'm sure we have arrived at the same conclusion. In this set of irregular verbs, what do you see? You see that the simple past tense is formed. There are different forms for base form. The base form is different. Simple past tense form is different, and the past participle form is different. In case of regular verb, you saw that look at the regular verb. In case of regular verb, you saw that the base form, okay, the base form was the simple past tense and past participle forms, they were the same, isn't it? So now again we look at this irregular verb, the chart on irregular verb. Look at another set of irregular verbs. This time what we will see is, let us take the verb think. Let us take the verb think. Okay, so what do we see here? We cannot write thinked. We cannot add ed here. That will not be grammatically correct. So what will we do? For the base form of think, we have to write thought. Okay, and similarly for the base form of past participle, we cannot write thanked. Okay, we have to write thought. So here you will find that in this case, the regular verb has the same simple past tense form, and it has the same past participle form. Okay, so then look at another example, teach. So teach, simple past tense is not teached. You cannot have teached. It is taught, and the past participle is also not teached. It is taught. All right. So look at the another set of. So here, in this set of irregular verbs, what you have is that you have we have the simple past tense and past participle are same. Okay, then let us look at another set of verbs, and here you will find that the base form, the simple past tense, and the past participle. They are all the same. So, example, cut, cut, cut. So, this is another set of irregular verbs. So, আকৌ অসমীয়াত অকমান কৈ দিওঁ irregular verb মানে কি যিবিলাক ৰেগুলাৰ নহয় তে ৰেগুলাৰ verb কি ৰেগুলাৰ verb হৈছে যিবিলাক verbৰ লগত ডি ইডি বা আইডি যুক্ত কৰি তাৰ simple past tense আৰু past participle ফৰ্ম কৰা হৈছিলে irregular verb যিবোৰ ৰেগুলাৰ নহয় সেইবোৰে irregular কিন্তু irregular বেলেগ বেলেগ ধৰণৰ irregular verb আছে সো আমি ফাৰ্স্ট যেটো সেট আছে হেতু সেটক আমি যদি এ বুলি কওঁ এ সেটটো সোৱা এ সেটটোত কি আছে এ সেটটোত base form, simple past tense form আৰু past participle গুটেই কিটা বেলেগ বেলেগ পৃথক পৃথক সো ইয়াতে কি কৰা হৈছে simple past tense টো ইয়াতে যেটো vowel letter আছে vowel letter টো চেঞ্জ কৰি a লে চেঞ্জ কৰি প্লে পৰিৱৰ্তন কৰি হেতু simple past কৰা হৈছে আৰু পিছৰটো কি কৰা হৈছে u দি প্লাই past participle form কৰা হৈছে vowel letter টো চেঞ্জ কৰা হৈছে আকৌ পিছৰ যেটো সেট আছে b সেট টো সোৱা b সেটত কি দেখা গৈছে think যেটো verb আছে তাৰ past participle টো thought আৰু sorry simple past to thought আৰু past participle to thought so ইয়াতে দেখা গৈছে যে ইয়াতে base form to লগত ded যুক্ত কৰি পেলাই simple past বা past participle obviously নাই কৰা হেতু regular হৈ গলতে কিন্তু ইয়াতে আমি দেখিছো যে simple past tense আৰু past participle to গঠনটো একে তাছ আমি লাষ্ট যেটো গ্ৰুপ হেতু চাও এটো এখন হেৰি শীটত তা ইয়াতে দেখিছো গুটেই কিটা একে base form simple past tense form আৰু past participle form গুটেই কিটা একে so this is another type of irregular verb আচ্ছা আৰু আছে so now এটো আমি ডি বুলি এবোৰ এটো ডি বুলি নাম দিও আৰু এটো ই বুলি নাম দিও so ইয়াতে দেখিবা so ইয়াতে কি দেখিবা ইয়াতে দেখিবা there are different kinds of in this set of irregular verbs you find that this is another set of examples of irregular verbs. So you have the verb choose. The past tense form is formed by it is different. One of the e is you removed, so you have chose, and then you have the past participle chosen. Similarly, you have drive, drove, driven, speak, spoke, spoken. Here again, the base form simple past and past participle is different, and these are. And again, another set of irregular verbs, other examples of irregular verbs. Tapsade, you come to the last set, and here you have, irregular verbs whose base form and past participle forms are same. Base form and past participle forms are same, but the simple past form is different. So আৰু এটা সেটৰ আমি চাও irregular verb ইয়াতে দেখিম যে ইয়াতে যেটো base form আৰু যেটো past participle form হেকিটা একে কিন্তু ইয়াতে যেটো simple past tense form হেতু বেলেগ so you see students what we have learned so far what we have recapitulated so far are not directly is something which is going to help you with the topic actual grammar topic that we are going to do today so now we will do another activity so let us look at that activity all right so you will find that there are two columns here you will find that there are two columns here isn't it one column is there are some sentences in column A and then there are other sentences in column B. Now what do you see here? What do you see here? You will see that you try to match the sentences of column A with the corresponding sentences in column B. All right. So what do you have here? You have the first sentence. Let us read it out. It is the tiger killed the deer. The tiger killed the deer, isn't it? Then look at the next one. Look at the next one. What is it? She teaches English. She teaches English, isn't it? All right. Then we have the next sentence. They have bought a car. Then we have she is baking a cake, and the last one is he will write a book. Okay. Now look at the sentences in column B. The deer was killed by the tiger. English is taught by her. A car has been bought by them. A cake is being baked by her. A book will be written by him. Look carefully at the sentences in column A and column B. Now, what are the similarities and what are the differences? Have a look and you tell me. Have a look and you tell me. Think about it and tell me. Yes. What do you see here? That the meanings of the tiger killed the deer in column A, the tiger killed the deer in column A, and the deer was killed by the tiger in column B, the meaning is the same. Column A, the sentence jitu বাক্য jitu, the tiger killed the deer, আৰু column B jitu বাক্য, the deer was killed by the tiger. ইয়াত কি দেখো আমি দেখো যে অৰ্থটো দুইটা বাক্যৰ একে আৰু যেটো ক্ৰিয়া হৈছে ইয়াত ক্ৰিয়াটো একে killed মৰা হৈছে আৰু ক্ৰিয়াটোৰ সময়টো একে past time অতীতৰ সময় okay. So what do we see here in both the sentences, the corresponding sentences of column A and column B? We see that the time of action is the same, both are in past time, and we see that the action is also the same, the meanings are the same. But is there a difference in these two sentences? এই দুটা বাক্যত কিবা পাৰ্থক্য আছে নেকি? Yes, আছে, definitely আছে. What is the difference? What is the difference? তোমালোকে দেখি চাই, you must be thinking, what is madam asking? I mean, it is so obvious. ইমান দেখা দেখিকে স্পষ্টকে আমি পাৰ্থক্যটো দেখিছো, প্ৰশ্নটো কেনেকুৱা প্ৰশ্ন হয় নে নহয়? কিন্তু হলেও সুধিছো, তোমালোকে উত্তৰটো দিয়া, try to answer. Yes, you are correct. In the first sentence, the structure of the sentence is different, isn't it? The structure of the sentence is different. And what is the difference in the structure? You see that in the first, what do we see? We see that in the first we see that the subject here, the subject is the doer of the action, is the doer of the action. The subject is the doer of the action. And what is the action? The action is killed. And we see that the deer is the receiver of the action, receiver of the action, isn't it? Okay. But what do we see here? We see here that the deer, the receiver of the action, has been brought to the subject position. Okay. The receiver of the action, I'll just write O-R-O-A, receiver of the action. It has been brought to the subject position, and we see that the structure of the verb looks different. Okay, the structure of the verb looks different. The action is the same, but the structure looks different. Then we have a preposition here, isn't it? We have a preposition here, and I'm writing the short form of preposition. And what do we have? We have the doer of the action, which has been pushed to the last part of the sentence. The doer of the action has been pushed to the last part of the sentence, isn't it? So this is the difference. Similarly, you see the same thing here. She teaches English. English is taught by her. Again, the meaning is the same, the verb is the same, the time of the action is the same, but the structure of the sentence is different, and the structure of the verbs look different, although the tense of the verbs are the same. That means the time factor is the same. Similarly, they have bought a car, and a car has been bought by them. The meaning is the same. The doer and receiver are the same. But what you have is that the position of the doer and receiver is different. Okay, and we have the, what do we have? We have the structure of the verb has become different. Okay, so we will look at the next. Slide, and so that will become clearer to you. All right, so I have highlighted it in green for your convenience. So you'll have here, this is the verb killed, Now the structure here has become different. It has become was killed. Okay, and you will find that here the subject DOA, doer of the action, which was the subject, it has been shifted here. It has been shifted here. The doer of the action has been shifted to the last part, and here you have the receiver of the action, which was here in the sentence in column A. Okay, receiver of action ROA. It has come to the beginning of the sentence, isn't it? Similarly, she teaches English. English is taught by her. They have bought a car. A car has been bought by them. She is baking a cake. A cake is being baked by her. So all these, you'll notice that there is a change in the structure of the verb and there is a change in the subject position and the object position. All right. So we have gradually come to the actual topic of this lesson. All right. So again, let us have a look at the structure of the verbs that we have used in these sentences. Column A, the verb is killed. Here we find that column B, what has been done? The tense is the same, but in this case, the tense is indicated by the be verb. The tense is indicated by the tense of the be verb, and the actual verb which gives meaning to the verb, that is in past participle form. That is in past participle form. I'm writing it in short as PP. So similar, so this is in simple past tense. So here the be verb is in simple past tense. Okay, simple past, and the be verb is in simple past, isn't it? So here you have teaches is a simple present, and you have the be verb in simple present. Okay, then here you have, this is in present perfect, the verb is in present perfect, and here the be verb is in present perfect. Okay, so then here you have it in present continuous, and you have the be verb in present continuous. You have the be verb in present continuous. Here you have it in simple future, and you have the be verb in simple future. Okay, so what have you noted about these structures? That the tense of the action, let us go to the previous slide. You'll find that this is how the tense of the actions are the same. That means the time factor is the same. How is it indicated? It is indicated with the help of the be verb, and the actual meaning of the verb is given by the verb which is in past participle form. All right, this part has been clear for all of you. Okay, so now you must have guessed the topic that we are going to do today. All right, you are right. The topic that we are going to do today, it is voice. Okay, it is called voice. All right. So what is voice? What is voice? Okay, now you can look at your screen. Voice is that form of a verb which shows whether what is denoted by the subject does something or has something done to it. So voice is not the not our voices. I mean, voice amar matar kotha koa nai. Voice is what is voice? Voice is the form of the verb. Voice is the form of the verb. Okay, here the form of the verb, this is voice. Okay, the form of the verb is voice. Okay, form of the verb is voice. All right, and what does this form do? The form indicates whether the subject is the doer of the action It indicates whether the subject is the subject does something. Okay, that means the subject is the doer of the action, or it indicates whether the subject has something done to it, meaning whether the subject is the receiver of the action. So the form of the verb which indicates whether what is denoted by the subject is the doer of the action or the receiver of the action, that form of the verb is called the voice. Okay, now there are two types of voice. One is the active voice and one is the passive voice. Now, what is active voice? A verb is said to be in active voice when its form shows that the person or thing denoted by the subject does something or is the doer of the action. Okay, so a passive voice is so called because a person or thing denoted by the subject has something done to it. অসমীয়াত ক'বলৈ হলে voice কি? voice হৈছে ভাৰ্বৰ ৰূপ বা ভাৰ্বৰ গঠন যিটোৱে ইংগিত কৰে যে যিটো সাবজেক্ট যিটো কৰ্তা কৰ্তাটো ডুৱাৰ অফ দি একচন নে ৰিচিভাৰ অফ দি একচন তাৰমানে কৰ্তাই নিজে ক্ৰিয়াটো কৰিছে নে ক্ৰিয়াটো কৰ্তাৰ ওপৰত কৰা হৈছে যদি ক্ৰিয়াটো কৰ্তাই নিজে কৰিছে doer of the action যদি কৰ্তা তেতিয়া যদি সাবজেক্ট হৈছে doer of the action তেতিয়া সেই ভাৰ্বটো active voice ফৰ্মত আছে বুলি কোৱা হয় আৰু active voiceৰ যিবোৰ ফৰ্ম তোমালোকে সেই আগৰ চাৰ্টটোত মনে কৰিছা active voiceৰ যিটো ফৰ্ম এই ফৰ্মবোৰ এইবোৰ টেন্স ফৰ্মৰ লগত একে টেন্সৰ গঠনৰ লগত একে টেন্সৰ গঠনৰ লগত একো পাৰ্থক্য নহয় হয় নে নাই same as tense forms so etu simple past ot ase etu past simple present ot ase present perfect ot ase present continuous ase aru present simple future ot ase kintu you will note ephale mon koriba ephalor jitu verb yate kintu yar jitu structure hetu beleg so e jibur enokwa jibur structure ase jibur simple present or logot mile ei bilak hoise active এইবিলাক হৈছে active voice আৰু এই যে স্ট্ৰাকচাৰটো যত be verbৰ লগত past participle use হৈছে be verbৰ লগত past participle use হৈছে past be verbৰ লগত past participle use হৈছে pp বুলিয়ে লিখি দিছো এইবিলাকক কয় passive voice এইবিলাকক কয় passive voice so এনেকুৱা structure বিলাকত যত be verb plus past participle 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 এই verbৰ যিটো form আছে এই formটো কি বুলি কয় এইটো formক কয় passive voice this form is called passive voice so এতিয়া সাকে অলমান বেছি clear হ'ব তোমালোকৰ যে what is active voice হৈছে যেতিয়া verb tour যিটো subject কিবা এটা কৰিছে action to যিটো verbৰ action হেতু কোনে কৰিছে হেতু subject কৰিছে হেতু বুজাবলৈ verbৰ যিটো form use হয় হেতু কয় active voice আৰু subjectৰ positionত যিটো বহিছে হে বস্তু বা person or thing বস্তু বা ব্যক্তি যদি বস্তু বা ব্যক্তি সাবজেক্টৰ পজিশনত থকা বা সাবজেক্ট হিচাপে ব্যৱহাৰ কৰা হেতু যদি সাবজেক্ট যদি ৰিসিভাৰ অফ একচন হয় তাৰমানে সাবজেক্টৰ ওপৰত কিবা এটা কৰা হৈছে তাৰমানে ভাৰ্বৰ যিটো একচন বুজোৱা হৈছে হেতু যদি সাবজেক্টৰ ওপৰত কৰা হৈছে তেওঁ কৰোতা নহয় তেতিয়া হলে সেই ভাৰ্বৰ যিটো ফৰ্ম হেতু হৈছে passive voice so তোমালোকে অলৰেডি নোট কৰিছা যে ইয়াতে ফৰ্মটো আমি অলৰেডি ইয়াতে তোমালোকক দেখুৱাই দিছো যে active voiceৰ যিটো ফৰ্ম এটো হৈছে active voiceৰ যিটো ফৰ্ম হেতু tenseৰ ফৰ্মৰ লগত মিলিছে হয়নে আৰু passive voiceৰ যিটো ফৰ্ম হেতু এটা স্পেশাল ফৰ্ম হেতু passive voiceৰ ফৰ্ম আৰু হেতু তললে চোৱা be verb plus past participle হেতু কেনেকা হয় হেতু be verb আৰু past participle যুক্ত কৰি হয় আৰু হেতুৰ কাৰণে তোমালোকে you have to be very clear with your tense structures tenseৰ গঠনবোৰ যিবোৰ আছে খুব ক্লিয়াৰ হ'ব লাগিব আৰু সেই tenseৰ গঠনটোৰ লগত corresponding যিটো be verbৰ গঠন আছে be verbৰ গঠন আছে হেতু তোমালোকে ভালকে জানিব লাগিব হয় নে নহয় so killed হেতু be verbৰ গঠনটো was বা যদি third person plural number হয় তেতিয়া were হ'ব পাৰে হয়নে নহয় হেতু উপযুক্ত সাবজেক্টৰ লগত মিলাব লাগে আৰু be verb ইয়াতে আছে is আছে কিন্তু কেতিয়াবা কি হ'ব পাৰে am বা are হ'ব পাৰে হয়নে তো ইয়াতে has been আছে কেতিয়াবা have been হ'ব পাৰে হয়নে আৰু ইয়াতে is being আছে হা so this is being to অৱশ্যে is being আছে তো এইটো am being হ'ব পাৰে am being হ'ব পাৰে বা are being হ'ব পাৰে আৰু will be আছে so it was a simple future tense will be বা shall be simple future tense তাৰমানে ইয়াতে তোমালোকে মন কৰিবা what has been done here you will note that for active voice it is the same as the tense forms or tense structures but for passive voice the corresponding structure the tense is denoted by the form of the be verb so you have to know what is the be verb form of simple past tense okay be verb form of simple past tense be verb form of simple present tense be verb form of present perfect okay be verb form of present continuous and similarly all the other tenses okay so this is the structure of the voice now are you clear with this okay so now we will just do a little exercise short exercise on how to do voice change how to do voice change okay voice change voice change all right how do we do it look at this example the tiger killed the deer all right so what do you do remember we had already discussed it we change the position this is the receiver of the action okay so we are going to bring this to the subject position this was the subject position this was the object position so we'll bring it to the subject position we'll say the deer okay then the verb becomes be verb plus past participle so this is simple past tense so the past participle will be was it will not be were it will not be were because the deer is in singular the deer the subject is singular so was killed okay was killed then we have to use a preposition this is a preposition okay by preposition by then this doer of the action doer of action we have to bring it here okay the by the tiger okay so this is how we do the voice change the meaning is the same the meaning is the same meaning same the time the tense is the same tense of verb is same but what is different okay this is same structure of the sentence is different structure of sentence becomes different and the form of verb in passive voice is different okay so here this is the verb and this is the verb here this verb is in active voice and here this verb is in passive voice so let us do a few exercises here let us do a few exercises here Sita loves Savitri so let us do voice change so what will this be Savitri is loved by Sita please forgive my handwriting okay so we have changed the position we have brought Sita here and this is Savitri, and this is passive voice. The verb has been changed to passive voice. This was an active voice. So similarly, I will not write here. The mason is building a wall. A wall is being built by the mason. Okay, so we have changed the position. This was the subject. Now this has become object or receiver of action. Oh, sorry, this is doer of action. Doer of action. So this wall, this is the receiver of action. We have changed it. We have brought it to subject position. This is receiver of action. Okay, and built becomes is being built. This is passive voice. This was active voice. Okay, similarly, the peon opened the gate. What will it be? We have to bring this to the subject position. Okay, the gate opened, that means past tense. Be verb will be in past tense. Then the actual verb will be in past participle. The gate was opened. Then we have to use the preposition by, and then the subject here becomes the object. That means by the peon. Okay, then he will finish the work tomorrow. So the work here, the work is the receiver of action. This is the doer of action. So the work will finish. The verb will be in future tense because this verb is in future tense. Active voice is in future tense. So the be verb will be in future tense. Will be finished. The actual verb will be in past participle. Will be finished. Then we need the preposition by him. He, this is a subjective pronoun. It will become objective. Okay, by him tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay, then she has bought a car. A car. This is in present perfect. So the be verb will be in present perfect. Has been bought. Has been bought. Has been. Be verb is in present perfect. Actual verb is in past participle. So this is passive voice. Okay, passive voice. Then we need a preposition by. She becomes her. Okay, so this is receiver of action is brought to the subject position, and doer of action is brought to the object position. Okay, so these, with this I think so there will be, this lesson will be continued later. This will be continued in later on. So we will end our lesson here. We'll do a quick recap before that. So what is voice? Voice is the form of the verb. Voice is the form of the verb which shows whether what is denoted by the subject does something or has something done to it. Active voice is said to, a verb is said to be an active voice when its form shows that the person or thing denoted by the subject does something or is the doer of the action. And passive voice is when when the person or thing denoted by the subject has something done to it. That means is the receiver of the action. And a quick recap on the different types of verbs. So now I think you understand why we did this quick recap of regular and irregular verbs, because you need to know the forms of these past participle. You need to know the past participle forms to correctly be able to write the structure of the passive voice, isn't it? So we will end this lesson here today. Thank you very much. I hope it has been very useful. We will continue with this later on. There will be more classes on voice. Today it is just a rough introduction. Please revise and recapitulate whatever you have learned, so it will help you to do voice change later. Thank you and have a good day.